And Philadelphia Eagles receiver Deshaun Jackson took a hard hit, and it was heard round the nation recently in a game with the Atlanta Falcons. In this collision with both Jackson and Falcons' Dunta Robinson, they both sustained concussions. Robinson was fined $50,000 by the league for delivering the blow under the NFL's new helmet-to-helmet rule implemented to help keep players safe. But that rule has been controversial. Joining us now is former Redskins lineman turned Harvard-trained orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Mark Adickes. He joins us from our bureau in Houston. Dr. Adickes, welcome to Bloomberg News. Always good to have you.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Dr. Adickes, is this now to the point where it's getting so out of control that Commissioner Goodell had to step in and act?
Well, I think he definitely had to step in and act. I mean, back when I played, when I was in 9th grade, I sustained a concussion and was unconscious on the field for several minutes. I went off the field for all of one play and went back in the game. Now, I was fortunate. The problem is, like the young player we had in Kansas recently that died, going back to play soon after a concussion, sometimes what happens is on the second hit, the brain swells, and then that's when people die.
Yeah.
And so Goodell had to act.
Dr. Adickes, you and I were talking during the breaks, and I guess it's incumbent upon me to give a shout out to Real Sports on HBO, because they first were bringing this to the public's attention, that you're now able to look at the brains of deceased players. Some of the family members have actually contributed those organs to science, and you're seeing lots of dark spots which correlate to lots of mini concussions that have happened over time, which suggests that it's not just one concussion, but a series of concussive effects that are actually causing this problem.
Yeah, I mean, what happens is it's essentially post-pugilistic dementia, the same thing we're seeing in boxers long after the fact. I mean, but the issue is that you see nothing on imaging at the time. So you image these players' brains, you can MRI them, you can do whatever you want, and you see nothing. And so the idea is that after an event, you need to rest them sufficiently long so that they're fully healed before they return to sport. And then they think it's okay. The other issue is they think there may be a gene connected to the guys that end up with this long-term chronic encephalopathy. Yeah. And so if they may start testing people to see if they're positive. Now, yeah. I can guarantee the NFLPA is not going to go for that.
Dr. Adickes, a couple of weeks ago, the storied head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions, Joe Paterno, he suggested that a way to stop this would be to remove the face mask. That way, players would not be so inclined to lead with their face or lead with their head. Is that a good idea?
Yeah, you know, I mean, if you did that, I think you'd have to soften the helmets. I think you'd have to soften the pads as well. I mean, the edge of the shoulder pads is sharp. The top of those helmets, the chin strap buckles, I mean, you could really gash some people. Do I think it would keep people from leading with their heads? Probably, but I mean, I think that the injuries would be horrific unless you softened all the pads. The one thing I wanted to say is, you know, there is a code in the league that you are not to intentionally injure somebody. The problem is,
but realistically, that goes on, right?
Well, it doesn't go on much. I mean, it's a really rare thing. And in the NFL, it almost never goes on. Yeah. I mean, I see it far more in college than I do in the pros. The problem is that guys don't view a concussion as being an injury. Yeah. They view a concussion as being a knockout blow. I mean, that's a badge of honor if you knock somebody unconscious. I mean, they call it, you know, giving them the ether or a snot bubbler hit, you know? And yeah. So what the guys need to realize is that if you go to give a guy a concussion or you go to knock a guy unconscious, you are injuring him. That should fall under that same code.
All right, Dr. Mark Adickes, former Redskin lineman turned Harvard-trained orthopedic surgeon, joining us from Houston. Dr. Adickes, thank you so much for coming on Bloomberg today. We appreciate it.